So, good morning, everybody. My name is Ree Wagon. I'm a senior business advisor at the Long Island Small Business Development Center, hosted by Stony Brook University. Our program is a joint venture between the SBA and State University of New York to provide technical assistance to small businesses. At the very core of our services is our one-on-one small business counseling, but we offer a whole host of other services, including the workshop that y'all are attending today. We are a national program. Heather, for those of you who were here earlier, I had asked a question if we are all over the country, and yes, we are. We are in 50 states and quite a few territories as well. So you can find an SBDC wherever you are. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about the Small Business Development Center. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Heather and then let her take over. Heather, could you pronounce your last name?
Tune, like a music tune?
Making sure I didn't want to say it wrong. Heather Toon has over 12 years experience of working on prevailing wage projects. She began by helping her husband find out how to bid and what the requirements were. After their separation, she moved on with other companies and grew her skills, working as a bookkeeper first, then climbing the ladder to become an estimator, project manager, a compliance officer for the Department of Labor, and now in her newest position, she's helping a software company build an all-in-one IRA compliance management system. She loves every aspect of the field. Rules and laws are always changing, and each project has its own set of obstacles. So you'll just get to take an idea and bring it to life. She finds this field very, very exciting, and we're very happy to have her this morning to share her knowledge with us. So Heather, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over. And for those of you that have joined us this morning, if you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat, and then Heather, I'll ask the question for you.
Thank you. If you want to go to the first slide, the next slide. Okay. So these projects require a lot of structure. Documentation needs to be handled and managed, organized. I would suggest to keep all your documents very neat. I usually have my clients save everything in something like Box, OneDrive, pCloud, systems like that. There are a lot of regulations, there are higher wages, and you're required to pay fringe benefits either in cash or as a company contribution to a plan. But they are worth it. This money is definite money. If your company is looking to expand, this is one of the best ways. As many of us in the construction field know, sometimes it's very hard to get paid from residential or commercial projects, and you're constantly trying to save money so that you can get the job because they always go for the lowest cost. These projects also go for the lowest cost, but they add value because each employee, each worker on site has to be paid the same amount. So it almost levels the playing field in a way for everyone around.
Heather, Can you hear me? I'm just interrupting you for 1 second. Someone just said that they can't see the presentation, so I just want to check and make sure.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, AJ, I just asked to see if you're viewing it in speaker view or standard view, because I can see it.
I think,
So if you adjust your view, maybe at the top of the screen, click standard view.
There should be a couple of tabs on top between meeting and shared screen, I believe. But okay, Ree, as long as you said you can see it, we're good.
I just want to make sure AJ can see it. If he can give us a thumbs up or just let us know. Looks like he's looking.
Ow.
No, I don't see it. I see everyone that's speaking is popping up. I'm not seeing a presentation.
Okay, so if you go under view, you'll see a bunch of little icons at the top. Look to the upper right-hand corner. You should see at the upper right-hand corner a little square with 3 boxes above it. That'll show your view. You want to click standard view.
Well, let's see. We got full screen. Nope.
I see the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Tabitha, for letting us know.
Yeah, all right. I'll figure it out then. I thought it was just me.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay. Okay, Heather, thank you.
No problem. Next slide. If there's no questions. So these projects look complicated, but that's actually why I'm here. They're very simple to manage. As soon as you get a good system going in place with your company, it's just following the steps. And a lot of people are intimidated by them because there are a lot of steps. But truthfully, architects, project managers, owners of the project, any questions you have, they are there to answer, and you should not be intimidated by them. We're going to go through the steps, and your company can follow this along. So next slide. So what triggers prevailing wage? You always want to check the bid documents to see who is funding the project. That usually tells you where the money is coming from, and what the requirements are. These are very important to know because each funding source has their own compliance requirements, and sometimes it also depends on how the money is being funded, either by a grant, a loan, tax credits, university funding, private funding. And then you also want to know if they're going for the tax credits after the funding. So those are those new IRA tax credits that added the apprenticeship requirement on these projects, but I'll go over that later. For an example, a DBA and IRA projects, both of those use federal money, but the IRA projects are tax incentives for clean energy, housing, things like that. They have different tax credits. They have apprentice requirements that need to be strictly met and are enforced by the IRS. DBA projects are enforced by the DOL and have stricter labor reporting guidelines. So that's two differences of the major funding sources. Next slide. So where to find bids? This is where you want to start. I would start by Googling prevailing wage bid sites to find bid sites. There are ones that you have to pay for, Dodge, Construct Connect, Plan Hub. Those will also have commercial jobs on them. Often these sites they'll send you them right to your account based on the requirements that you've set. But there are also sources like sam.gov, y'all are in New York. So a lot of towns, Brookhaven Town has their own website. The Suffolk Department of Transportation has their own website, things like that. And those would be free to sign up for. You want to make sure that the funding sources, you meet all those requirements. You really want to make sure that's critical. Before you ever accept plans, make sure that you meet all the requirements. I had a contractor that had won a bid. He found out it was in the bid documents that you had to have a graduated apprentice on site. He had won the bid. He thought he would be covered because the apprentice would graduate during the project. However, when they found out that he didn't have a graduated apprentice already, he lost the bid and he lost his bid security deposit, which was over $28,000. So you really want to check funding sources and make sure you meet all the requirements. Don't guess or anything like that. Next slide. So when you get a bid, I suggest that you create a sheet that you can use when you're reviewing the bid documents before you buy them. You can always review bid docs. The sheet would look for key information that you need to decide if the project is right for your company. If you have questions, I would make note while you're going through those bid documents, and then you can send an RFI, they call it, request for information. They'll tell you exactly where to send it. Majority of the time, it's either to the project manager or the architect, and they will have a submission date, but I would suggest getting those initial questions out right away. You can always continue sending questions, but your initial questions, you want those answered as soon as you can so you can get the bid as close to perfect before the date. Some of the information includes the funding sources, insurance requirements, project progression schedule, important dates like the RFI submission date, the deadline for bid submission, and other important dates would be like the estimated start date, the estimated closing date, and then you just want to check your own schedule, construction schedule, and make sure that you can fit that in with the requirements and the workers. You have enough workers. So next. Okay. Make sure that you know what your insurance covers before you start bidding on these job sites. have a big talk with your insurance company, know your limits, know if you meet these needs. If you can't meet those needs, how much would it be to add additional insurance from your insurance company? Because you want to work that into your bid cost as overhead. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat. I would also ask about material insurance when you're going over insurance with your insurance company. So when you do these projects, you have to cover the cost before you get your initial payment. Some of the cost is the material. That's one of the biggest costs that you have to cover. And sometimes you can bill for material after you've bought it before you get on site, but you have to have insurance on it. And it has to be kept at a location that the project manager knows. So again, when you're looking through the bid documents, I would note, are you allowed to bid? Are you allowed to bill for material before you get on site? And if so, are there requirements to bill for the material? Those are very important questions that people most of the time forget. Next slide. You want to make sure that you get approved by a bonding company before you start bidding on these types of projects. When working with a company, you want to know what your limits are in totality, which means how much you're allowed to have out on a loan, and then also per project. So you might be able to have 50,000 per project, but 1 million to bid in total. So you would be able to bid that many projects. You also want to ask them what your rate is, how you request a bid. Sometimes they have certain documentation that they require when you're submitting a bid bond. You want to know what to do if you lose the bid and what their process is when you win the bid. And you want to make sure that it's someone that is getting back to you on time, someone that is answering your questions. So also make note of the bid of the bonding company when you're doing this and see how easy it is, see if there's other people you need to contact. And I would ask a few companies. It's like shopping around, but it does take a hit on your credit score. You'll also need to hand over your personal documents to get this in because this is going to be based on not only business credit, but your personal credit as well. Next slide. All right, ordering the plans. This is my fun part. This is when you should begin a digital project folder. Like I said, Box, pCloud, OneDrive, Dropbox, there's all these companies. Every project should have the same folder structure, and there should be a checklist to ensure that all the documents have been added to that as the project progresses. Doing this helps your company. If you lose a bid, you get to see where you were too high, where you can cut costs next time and adjust for the next one. Sometimes projects are also put out for rebid. So that can help you if they go out for rebid, you can see where you lost last time, any differences in the plans from this time, and it'll save you a little bit of time and money if they go out for rebid. Keeping the project documents also helps for compliance measures. If the project ever gets audited and you have everything neatly in the documentation, you can just send them right out. And owners make note of that for which companies are keeping documents, which companies are easier to get documents for. And that does go into who wins bids later on. So if you show that your company is good at documentation, making sure that they always have the correct pay stubs, time cards, they all match the project correctly, your CPRs are in order, filled out correctly, which is a certified payroll report. They usually tend to go with you. While looking over bids and plans for the first time, make a list of your initial questions, just like you would with the bid documents, and send those RFIs out right away, just like I said. Then you can begin estimating while you're waiting for those RFIs and make adjustments here and there. You don't want to wait to estimate until right before the project bids because you're going to rush, and you want to make sure that you look over all the plans, read the fine details, read the key notes. I had a contractor that did not read the key notes on a plan, and he only read his own plans. He was an electrical contractor. He only read the electrical plans. He didn't read the technician ones. So he didn't see that he actually was supposed to supply these TV monitors in the Patchogue Medford school. So he ended up, they were $5,000 each, plus the material to install, plus the labor. He lost over $40,000 just because he didn't read through the bid plans. So read through all of them. Next slide. These are fun, the pre-bid meetings and the walkthroughs. You get to walk through the project. I suggest going to every single one of these meetings, every single one of these walkthroughs. Make sure you have a dedicated person that knows the questions to ask. Make a day of it. Grab a cup of coffee, go take tons of pictures, take videos, ask a million questions, get names, numbers of everybody, even other contractors, because you can start networking through that as well. So they aren't a waste of time. A lot of people skip these, and I've noticed that those are the people that tend to either lose money on the bids, miss items, or not have as big of an influence in the field. I had a contractor that actually, it was the same exact contractor as the one that didn't read the plans. He did not believe in going to meetings and wasting, he would say, those 3 hours. So he did not understand that on the plans, it looked like a straight run that the wire would have to run through the basement. However, had we gone to the pre-bid meeting and the walkthrough, we would have seen that there were actually these large cement pillars, and the wires actually had to run around and they weren't allowed to go through the ceiling, like he had estimated on. So we had to pay for that material to do the extra runs. That didn't come out because we should have been in the walkthrough, so we weren't approved for that. So definitely attend those walkthroughs. Next slide. Estimating preparation. Never assume that all of your scope of work is only on your blueprints. Like I said before, there was electrical work on the technical plans. You want to review all the drawings, highlight the important information, make notes in different colored pens for things that you question. These are your documents. You paid for them. You paid really good money to print them. Make sure they work for you. Write all over them. Make sure these are the same blueprints that go from start to finish, and have a place to store them afterwards. Keeping everything on one place really helps during the project for any notes that you made. Take them to the walkthrough with you as well. That way you can see in reality what they're showing on the blueprints. It really does save time and money. You don't have to print all the bid documents. You can review them and just print the ones that are really important to your scope of work. And you can just keep all of them on the computer in one of those file systems that I was talking about, Box, keyCloud, those things. Ask suppliers for quotes, a quote sheet usually when you're doing your estimating. This is a basic material and cost of things you order typically. If you're a contractor, you want to have like a sheet with all the different types of wood, drywall, paint, like primer gallons, things like that. They usually have basic costs. Electricians, wire nuts, the price per foot of wire, those things. That'll help you in estimating, and it'll save you a lot of time as well. Next sheet. So this is when you're fully estimating. Labor cost errors are one of the biggest issues contractors face on prevailing wage projects. Make sure that you are calculating the fringe and adding the wages correctly. If you are not sure, make a call to the Department of Labor or the labor office of your area. Make sure that you have the most recent wage determination that goes with the project. You want to make sure that you verify that with either the owner, the project manager, or the architect, whoever's holding all the RFIs. That's who you want to make sure that you ask that question to. If your company offers benefits already, either reach out to me and I can help you figure out which one are bona fide that can be included as part of your fringes. That's very important. The Department of Labor is very, very strict. Fringes are just an added bonus for any on those projects. Typically insurance, pension, sickness, depending on your state, and vacation, depending on the guidelines of your vacation policies. Usually those are included as bona fide, but again, those differ. It all depends. Pricing varies significantly between suppliers. Always get quotes from multiple sources. As you use your suppliers more, you can ask them for different frequent buyer models to save even more. If you work with subs on multiple projects, keep track of who is the most reliable, the fastest, the easiest to work with in the back office, who's on time with their compliance needs. When using subcontractor quotes to price the bid, use the median of all the quotes when you're estimating, not the highest and not the lowest, but the average in your estimation. Make sure that you are choosing the correct labor classifications. You can have more than one classification on the job site in a single day, and an employer can be considered two separate classifications on the same project in the same day, but keep proof of the tasks and tools that your employees are going to use. You might think that taking this time is overkill, but it is worth it in the end. Your bottom line and profit margin will matter. The process will become streamlined after a few bids, and you will be able to implement a system that works for your company. Trust the process. Bids are often read publicly, and they are just really fun to be at. So I suggest, again, making sure that you go to them. It's also a great way to network. Next slide. Okay, project setup begins. This is when you win the bid. This is done after you receive a notice to proceed, meaning that your insurance and bonds meet requirements. At the internal meeting, include your office manager and other back office support staff and the project manager, foreman, or supervisor, whoever's going to be in charge on site. You want to go over the entirety of the project and its requirements, have the blueprints with notes, keep a computer open to scroll through photos and videos that you took during the walkthroughs and during the meetings. Systems should be established before the project begins on how the site and the foreman supervisor are going to get information back to the back office. That includes daily reports. How you are monitoring labor classes will be discussed. Who's taking site photos and progression photos and how they are being added to the internal folder that you're going to save. Who will be monitoring the subcontractors and who the subcontractors are handling information to will be important to go over as well. You want to make sure that you set up the correct pay rates in your payroll system and you're paying the prevailing wage workers weekly. This is important. Prevailing wage workers have to be paid weekly. They cannot be paid bi-weekly. They cannot be paid bi-monthly, nothing. Department of Labor is very strict of that. You want to set up time cards and payroll systems so that when the project starts, everything's in order. You also can ask your payroll company if they have a certified payroll report in their system already. Some do, and you can usually just submit that to when you submit your CPRs. Then you're going to buy the buyout. That locks in the pricing, and you can often help grow your bottom line when you ask for buyout numbers from each of the vendors. After the notice to proceed is issued, send emails to your suppliers and your subcontractors, letting them know that you won the project and request a buyout number. Remember that you have already calculated the median cost into your budget. So anything less than that median cost is a savings. So don't always go for the lowest cost. If you know supplier A has the lowest cost, but the longest lead times, you need to choose wisely. If subcontractor X is the lowest, but his guys are sloppy and causing extra cleanup at the end of the project, I mean, are they really the lowest? Because then your guys have to go out behind them. After choosing the supplier, make sure to send them a purchase order for them to sign. That includes lead times, expiration dates, and begin asking them for submittals on all the materials that will be used on the project. You'll need these submittals for everything. Like I said, wire nuts, wire, nails, even screws, everything. If you have material that you use more often, make sure that you keep a copy of that submittal on file so you can always just send them right out. Before you can order the material, you need to get an approval from whoever's approving them. Again, whether it's the project owner, architect, or manager. If you have an apprentice program, you want to make sure that you get their DOL certificates right away, and you send that up with a copy of their apprenticeship standards and your training program cover letter. It usually tells whoever's getting these documents, what your ratios are for apprentice to journey worker, when your apprentice started in the program, that your apprentice and your program is currently compliant with the state requirements, and which level your apprentices are at. So those are very important documents. If you don't have apprentices, this is when you want to start making your good faith efforts. What that means is you want to reach out to apprenticeship programs within a 100-mile distance. Those requirements, you have to start that at least 45 days in advance from the project starting. And then you have to go for 5 consecutive business days, and you want to ask more than one program. If you don't have any programs in your area, you could get a geographical exemption, but those are a little bit hard to prove. So reach out to me if that's the case. They're a little harder to prove. And then you want to start getting your permits in order. During the beginning stages of the project, puts the project in the inspection agency's system and will help you later with timeframes when you need to schedule the various progression inspections. I would ask them to just get you on the calendar now based on your estimation dates. That way it opens up the window for you and it's easier to change later. Next slide. I would always suggest a subcontractor meeting. This includes everyone that you're going to have on the project. It just gets everybody on the same page. You want to go over this same kind of stuff like the deadlines, what you're looking for, any submittals that are needed to be turned in, where they're going to turn it into, where their certified payrolls, their pay stubs, their time cards need to be submitted to, any contact information for people in your company. All that information is going to be given to the subcontractors, and this just makes the project run smoother. This can be held via Zoom or Google Meet. It can also be held in person or on the job site if you would want, but I would definitely suggest this. Next slide. The on-site labor. So making sure that you have a strong project management keeps the project on schedule and compliant, which equals less cost later. You want to hold weekly meeting updates. That's going to be with the owner of your company, any back office support people, and whoever's in charge on site. You want to make sure that all the equipment's been ordered. You want to make sure all the material is on its way. You want to go over any lead times, any changes, how many workers have been on site. Do you need more labor? Are the apprentices in ratio? Things like that. You also want to go over the subcontractors, make sure that they're still in compliance. It's basically just an overview of what you've done in the beginning of the project at startup. And I would suggest holding these weekly with everybody in your office that's important to the project. Your back office support team is like the spine on these projects. They're going to be the ones holding the project up and connecting all of the moving parts. Make sure that you take care of them. They're more than just office staff. Your back office support will be in charge of keeping up with your company's CPRs, apprenticeship information, good faith efforts, paying everyone correctly, retaining payments, all of that information. So you really want to make sure that they have everything that they need before the project starts to make sure the project runs smoothly and there are no audits. And if there are, everything is there, easy to grab. Next slide. These are all the most of the documents that I suggest that you maintain, again, within a system, pCloud, Box, Dropbox, all those things. Labor compliance documents must be accurate and submitted on time. Do not fall more than 2 weeks behind. You will be out of compliance. You want to make sure that you're maintaining any project-related documents or records for yourself and your subcontractors. I would suggest keeping these documents for a minimum of 10 years. That covers you for any audit types that you go through, because there are different years that people have to audit. I think New York State is 5 years to audit, but I think federal projects are 3. So I would just keep it for 10 just to make sure. The next one. Okay. I would schedule any inspections very early. You can always push the inspections back, but it's very difficult to get a last minute inspection if you forgot. Take before and after photos of any punch list items that your company went back for. You're going to document the date and employee that came and completed the punch list item work. If you need to provide training to project owners or on-site staff, like janitors, Make sure that you get their signature, that you trained them and answered all of their questions to their satisfaction, and they feel confident in operating the system. If you need to supply any attic parts, make sure that you get a signature from someone that can vouch that they were delivered, exactly what was delivered, the date it was delivered, and the place that they are being kept, with photos of where they're being kept. As subcontractors finish, make sure that you are not fully releasing money until you have all the documents needed and they are cleared by the project owner that they are compliant. It's very hard to get subcontractors back on site. Make sure that you are getting lien waivers and saving copies of invoices and cancel checks for any suppliers or equipment rental companies that you are working with. Depending on how they would like the as-built drawings, I suggest drawing right on a fresh set of blueprints. You can do this on the computer. They have different programs. There are also, you can use Adobe as well. They have different colored pens and things like that if you're drawing wire lines and stuff. You can request the material information as the project is being worked on to do your submittals and your closeout, your O&Ms. That helps save time at the end of the money because the end of the job because they won't change. So yeah, the next slide. Great. So these projects require a very strong cash flow before you receive your first payment. So you need to make sure that you have the capital or strong business credit to help fund these projects before you're paid. Business and personal credit are also reviewed when applying to a bonding company, asking them to increase your limits. You want to keep your credit and the business credit as clean as possible. Make sure that you are not mixing your business and your personal credit as little as you can. Often bonding companies will run your business and personal credit throughout the year to ensure that your bonding capacity is still accurate and no changes have been made. If your personal credit takes a dip, your bonding company is going to see it and they will lower your bonding capacity, which means you won't be able to take on as many projects. I do partner with Citrus and Gold and I send him all the people that I have that need business credit. So if you need business credit or you have questions about your personal credit, he's there, and he actually does presentations here as well for the Small Business Development Center. Next slide. And then this is just a overview of what I do. I can offer anything from registering you on bid websites. If you have any questions, I'm always available. I love talking about this stuff. I'm not really great in doing presentations, but I'm really great on knowing this information. If you ever have any questions about any bid documents, any requirements that are needed, any funding source questions, don't guess, reach out. I do free consultations. I have no problem looking over things for people, and then having a short meeting with you and showing you exactly where I evidenced what your question answer was. I also help with subcontractor management. If you already have a management process in your company and you're looking to go on bigger web job sites, but don't have the capacity to manage them. And then I also offer project meeting support. That's with your in-office support or subcontractor support. And then that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, folks. Thank you very much, Heather, for the very informative presentation. If anybody has any questions, they can drop them in the chat and I will be happy to read them to Heather.
I just want to say I'm also about to send a survey into the chat. We just ask for everyone to complete this at the end, please. It helps us to keep making workshops and getting some feedback from everyone to see what works and what doesn't and what we should do more of. So I'm going to send that link right now.
Thanks, Kayla.
Is everyone in the class already on these job sites, or are you guys looking to get on these job sites? Like to get on these types of projects?
Actually, four of us are from Stony Brook University procurement office. We pay the bills for the university, but we work with, the Department of Labor on prevailing wages. That's why I thought it was very interesting to see the other side.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Oh, so you're the one that we sometimes submit documents to and
Yes. Basically, we're the state of New
okay.
York. So yeah, we're obviously a SUNY campus. So,
Right.
but yeah, we're the
You
ones that
know,
bother the vendors and submit your certified payroll and submit your OSHA cards and submit everything.
it's really funny. I had a contractor that came to me that was on a SUNY project um a few years ago actually because he needed help becoming compliant. He didn't realize that this was a state funded project. And I was like, "Oh, it's a state school." And he was like, "Yeah, but it's a school." And I was like, "Oh, it's in it's in
We
your bid
wish it were
docs
that
then."
simple. Believe me, it's not. The
So,
state requires a lot of documentation and their process is
yeah,
very detailed.
yes. Actually, New York is not as bad as I work all throughout the US. I have projects, I have companies with projects in Michigan, Pennsylvania. California is probably the hardest, California and Washington, to be honest. New
Really?
Mexico is getting up there as well. New
Wow.
Mexico is getting up there as well, yeah. And you wouldn't think so. I feel like Georgia was the most laxed out of all of them, maybe Texas as well. But yeah, I think Washington, California, those are the two hardest. And New Mexico, they're building their own website right now for compliance management that people have to use instead of the LCP tracker that they typically used.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think New
because
York is actually to follow.
it's gonna. I know right now the Department of Labor is requiring certified payroll that they submit it electronically. So that's
Mhm.
something new, but we still require paper. So, it's kind of, we thought it was
Yeah.
very confusing. But apparently, maybe we're not the worst state.
No, you're not actually. New York is the easiest. And it's also, I have to say, New York has some of the easiest to read wage determinations.
Oh,
Like
okay.
everything is kind of spelled out there. For California, you have to go on the website to kind of understand which labor class you're going to go in, because they have details on there. But New York is actually the easiest usually. I worked mostly in New York until
Okay.
I opened up to help companies, but yeah, they were typically the easiest, and they have the least amount of wage increases in New York. I think it only happens 2 or 3 times a year, and it's pretty set date.
Yeah. Yep. I think
Yeah,
it's July or January, one of the two.
yeah,
But yeah.
July. I know April is another one, and I thought November, but I might be wrong.
But
Yeah.
no, this is very,
So
very informative. Like, since to see the other side.
no, no problem. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks,
Um,
Alan. I hope you were able to see the slides ultimately. So
Yes. No, I did. My Zoom,
mhm.
I didn't realize two tabs at the top. So that was my mistake.
no
I've
worries,
never
no
seen
worries.
that before. Usually the
Yeah.
presentation comes right up.
Sometimes technology is our friend, sometimes it's our
Yes.
foe. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? I don't see anything in the chat. And Kayla, thank you for dropping the survey in the chat as well. So, okay, I don't think we have any questions. Heather, thank you again for the wonderful
Thank you.
presentation, full of tons of great information. And everybody have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you guys.
Thank you,
Have a
Take
great
care.
Heather.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.